I build automated trading strategies, and here's how they did for the month of June. Now, in my portfolio, I run 10 automated strategies that cover the futures market. So this is ES, NQ, CL, YM, etc. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down how they performed, kind of each individual strategy, and also my general lessons from this month. This month was quite a crazy comeback compared to my previous month. I lost about 2.6 in the previous month, and this was, as you can see from the equity curve at least, it was a very profitable month, but it was quite difficult to get there. So first, let's go over the equity curve. The key thing really here to notice is this particular drawdown period over here. I was up around 6%, give or take, almost 7% earlier in the month, and then it pretty much gave all of it back and more, and I was down 6% by, I think, the 15th or maybe 16th of June. So the beginning of this month, for a period of time, I was thinking, well, this is probably going to be another losing month. The price action was very choppy, at least for my automated strategies. I'll kind of get more into what that really meant. But we ultimately recovered really well, and we had some great momentum in trend days, and that made up a lot of the P&L this particular month. Now, to give you a bit more detail, let's get into kind of each individual strategy. Now, if you're wondering why I cover up the names, it's because I've probably created 500, maybe 1,000 different strategy codes now. So I try and keep a very clear documentation on each individual code file, and the naming structure is very clear. So I understand when I see the name, I understand what it's kind of doing. So if I showed all the names, then I'll kind of reveal my strategies. And at this period of time, I'm not kind of willing to do that. But if we go into the actual performance, I will give you an idea of like what ones are trend following, mean reversion, swing, etc., all that sort of things. So we can see overall profit was 12.11%. Now this is after commissions, and then obviously it's taking trades, so it's after slippage as well. And then we had a drawdown of about 6.66%, which, to be honest, I'm very happy with. Last month was a very tough drawdown of 10.5, if I remember correctly, and that was quite difficult to stick through. But obviously, this month was well within bounds, and that 10% was as well. And then we had overall trades was 357. Profit factor doesn't matter as much because it's just over these particular trades, but 357 trades in total. The most surprising thing, at least for me this month, was how even the trade distribution was. Most of the time, you would see that swing strategies was obviously taking a lot less trades. Intraday strategies often take a bit more, but for the most part, they're all kind of the same, give or take. Now, you can see the swing strategy here. This was 15 trades, and then we did have another strategy that wasn't as swing. It did actually hold intraday positions sometimes overnight, but it's not necessarily based on daily bars. And that's kind of what I'd normally classify as like a swing strategy, at least in my eyes. Now, we had a couple top performers that primarily saved performance this month, which was 3.44%. We had the almost 5% on a single strategy, which was amazing. And then we had a kind of two other 2%, which were great. And then all the other ones were either almost break even or quite losing. So this lost 1.75%, this lost 1.34. Now, I think to really break down why that is, I'm going to get into the price action of NQ and like ES and just the overall markets in June of why that primarily is. Now, obviously, strategies are going to have losing months. So I'm not that worried about a strategy having a losing month, maybe even a couple losing months. It primarily needs to make sense, though. Is there a reason why it's losing? And is it an expected reason? So, for example, trend following strategies, I know are going to lose during choppy periods. That's totally fine. But if the market was clearly trending during that period of time, then I'm a bit more worried. Maybe I've messed up something with strategy parameters. Maybe it's no longer working, etc. But for the most part, 1 month to maybe even 2 months isn't often enough sample unless there's a very clear reason why I need to modify something. But for the most part, I just try and leave it alone. Now, I wanted to go over correlation because this was a bit of an issue a couple of months prior. But overall, this month, correlation was very green. So basically here, you're looking for low correlation or even negative. So green is like good, and then anything kind of brown to red is high correlation, which is bad. And the reason you don't want high correlation is if you're, let's say, running 10 strategies as I am, but they're all very correlated, you can argue that's primarily just running one strategy. If they're all super correlated and that's been over a historical period of time, that's a good amount of data, then yeah, you really don't want that because you could just be running basically one strategy and putting 10x more size on it. So for the most part, you want to have uncorrelated approaches so that you can negate the risks of each strategy. So for example, trend following is going to underperform in choppy periods, but mean reversion will do very well during that time. So if you pair them together and if they're uncorrelated or low correlation, you'll get a better risk adjusted return and a more stable equity curve compared to if you just had 10 very highly correlated strategies. But yeah, this is something I was really glad to see, that it was mostly low correlation. Obviously, we have a couple of things here and there, but for the most part, it was very good. No strategy was losing a ton with the other one, or I didn't have any crazy tariff event like we did recently. So this month overall, at least for that, was very good. Now, I've also been showing, how many of my trades are short and long based, because I think especially in futures markets, I think a lot of people assume that you're going to be taking a lot of short trades as well with your long trades. At least in automated strategies from the people I know and obviously from my own experience, a lot of the times it's a lot of long-based trading. The reason being is obviously the market has generally trended up for the most part over that period of time, but it's also very hard to be able to create strategies that perfectly time shorts. As we can kind of see with tariffs, a lot of times when we have a short play, the short play is in play for a couple of days, and then there's very often a slow recovery or sometimes a rapid recovery depending on what it is. And if you're still in a short position with that, then you can obviously have a very difficult and not that profitable of a trading strategy. Now, that isn't to say that I don't have short strategies. I do have short strategies because I do want to try and implement both sides. But as we can see here, we had 80% of long trades and 20% of short trades. But where do you expect the P&L came from? Well, it basically only came from long-based trading. Shorts was actually surprisingly basically break even, which I was very surprised about. I thought there was at least going to be some losses on shorts, but for the most part, it just all evened out. And the reason behind that is once I get into price action, I'll kind of explain a bit more. The final chart that I wanted to go over was actually P&L by weekday. I showed it previously, and I think it was Thursday was my biggest losing day last month. And this month, it's Wednesday. So that's kind of why on the point I had last month is I don't try and take any of this data for 1 month sample size too serious. Obviously, I want to make sure that there's nothing like a huge anomaly or something I'm overlooking. But for the most part, having 30 trades or 50 trades on a particular strategy and their worst day is Wednesday doesn't really mean anything for the most part over a month. It does mean something maybe if you had 5 years of data and every single Monday for some reason you were always losing, then maybe you could look into that. But for the most part on this, this sort of graph doesn't really mean much to me, but it is good to see that, hey, a lot of the profits this month were came from Friday. Now, lastly, let's get into kind of the price action on NQ. So as we can see during June, it was technically, if you look at this right, it looks like a really nice uptrend for the most part. Like you've got some dips here and there if you kind of trading discretionary. At least in automated trading, a lot of this intraday price action, especially in the earlier part of this month, was incredibly choppy and incredibly difficult because it would often start out looking like it's going to be a trend day. So for very traditional trend models, whether that be above EMA, dual EMA, whatever you're kind of using, it would often look like it's going to be a great trending day, and it's starting to play out for it. And then intraday, it basically gave back that whole move, and it would mess up with a lot of strategies. Now, this was a bit of the case last month, and I was worried that this was still going to be the case this month. And for at least the beginning, it did kind of seem like that. The only caveat I had here was that my mean reversion strategies were doing really well during that time, and that's why you saw at the beginning of my equity curve, I was still profitable. The strategy that actually did, I think, like 3.44% this month was actually a mean reversion strategy, and it did really well during that period of time. And it didn't really lose that much of its gains during this trending period because it just wasn't really trading it that much. But during this time, it was absolutely crushing it. I think it was up 6 or 7% at height. And it was doing really well because a lot of this intraday price action, if I kind of show you, was incredibly mean reversion based. Like you'd have a really strong kind of beginning uptrend and then revert the whole way throughout the day. Then you'd have another mean reversion day that's reverting up, starting to look good for a trend. We had a bit of a trend continuation, I guess, for a day, give or take. This is hourly bars, obviously. So if you're trading lower than hourly bars, there's a lot more volatility in here. But for the most part, you can see we had huge moves on either side, and then they would just revert. And then we'd get a bit of a trend, and then revert, and then get a bigger trend, and then revert. So for my trend strategy, they just got wrecked most of the time, which was not unexpected, at least based on the price action. That's technically what they should have done, and I have no regrets for them taking those trades. But on handling volatility, it's tough. But obviously later in this month, we had amazing trend days, and that's when the trend metals basically made back all their money based on that and recovered a lot of their drawdowns. And then because I have more strategies, then we basically ended up the month quite profitable. Into crypto, which as you guys maybe have seen on other videos, I kind of show you sometimes my P&L from crypto, which has been great. I've just been running basic kind of trend following models on them, and they've been working really well. But still, at least in like experience levels, crypto is still infancy compared to what I know about futures and creating future strategies. But I am very lucky now that I have a bit of a network, so I get to talk to some of the best kind of crypto traders, and I learn a lot faster with them as well. But yeah, that was my month.